Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling an invisible force that fundamentally dictates literally every single move you make on a chessboard. We are opening up the master guide to chess time controls. So, if you've ever felt rushed, totally panicked, or just completely lost trying to figure out which game mode to actually click, well, you're in the right place.
Now, you might be wondering, does the clock really change how you play a specific position? It sounds kind of wild, but it's absolutely true. You see, time is essentially the ultimate hidden chess piece. It's this invisible force hovering over the board that completely shifts your entire mindset, totally altering what makes a good move versus a bad move. Think about it like this. A brilliant, super complex sacrifice that works beautifully when you have a full hour to think might actually be a terrible blunder if you only have 10 seconds left to execute it.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with time, the hidden chess piece, then we'll get into decoding the chess clock, dive into the 4 speed formats, discuss time management by phase, and finally, wrap up with the path to improvement.
All right, Section 1, Time, the hidden chess piece, and how the clock changes the game.
I really want you to let this central idea sink in. The exact same position can be played completely differently depending on how much time you have. We often think of chess as this game of pure logic and objective truth, right? But the ticking clock turns it into an intense psychological battlefield. You aren't just playing against the pieces sitting across from you. You're constantly playing against the limits of your own processing speed.
Moving right along to Section 2, decoding the chess clock and the math behind the minutes.
Okay, so if you play online, you've definitely seen these kind of cryptic numbers. Let's decode them. On one side, we have the plus sign, which represents an increment. For example, 10 plus 5. This just means you start with 10 minutes, but crucially, after every single move you make, you gain 5 seconds back. If you move fast enough, your clock can actually recover. Now, on the flip side, which is super common in serious over-the-board tournaments, we have the slash. For instance, 40/90. This means you have 90 minutes to make 40 moves. Only after you hit that 40th move does the clock grant you a chunk of extra bulk time. It is a completely different rhythm of play.
And then there's sudden death. This is a time control with absolutely no increment at all. Think 10 plus 0. The sheer panic of a sudden death format is very, very real. Because hitting 0 means you lose, instantly. It literally does not matter if you have a massive material advantage or even a forced checkmate in one move. If that clock hits 0.0, the game's over. You lose.
Let's jump into Section 3, the 4 speed formats, from bullet all the way to classical.
Let's kick things off with the fastest and arguably the most chaotic format, bullet chess. You get a completely unforgiving 1 to 2 minutes total for the entire game. The main skills here, pure pattern recognition and raw intuition. You really want to use your opening knowledge and just play simple, solid moves. You simply do not have the time to ask yourself, what is the perfect move? Instead, you need to be thinking, what's my first good move? Find it and play it. And whatever you do, please do not spend 20 seconds calculating a single move or your clock would just completely vanish.
Next up is blitz chess, which shifts us into a 3 to 5 minute time frame. Now the pace is still incredibly fast, but the dynamic definitely changes. The key skill here shifts to fast decision-making and calculating short tactics. You want to play super active moves that put real pressure on your opponent. Your guiding thought in blitz should be, what's the best practical move? The goal is to create nasty complexities that force your opponent to burn their precious clock time trying to figure out tough decisions.
Stepping up the time limit a bit, we enter rapid chess, giving you 10 to 25 minutes. This is really the arena of balance, specifically balancing speed with real accuracy. Here, you finally have the luxury, and honestly the requirement, to actually think before touching a piece. You can build long-term plans, calculate tactics thoroughly, and most importantly, avoid rushing. The primary question you should be asking in Rapid is, what is my opponent threatening? Because guess what? You actually have the time to figure it out. This makes Rapid the absolute ultimate format for real improvement.
Finally, we reach the big leagues. Classical chess. 30 minutes or more, sometimes stretching into hours. This is the format you see in World Championships. The focus here is strictly on accuracy. It demands incredibly deep calculation, long-term strategic planning, and highly precise endgame technique. Your mindset has to completely shift away from good enough or practical to asking yourself, what is the objectively strongest move in this position? So to quickly summarize how this whole spectrum shifts, as your time allowance increases from a chaotic 1 minute all the way up to 30+ minutes, the core skill you need evolves right along with it. We move from raw instinct and bullet, to speed and blitz, to overall improvement in learning and rapid, all the way to deep calculation and classical. The format you choose literally dictates the exact skill you're practicing.
All right, Section 4. Time management by phase and how to spend your time currency wisely.
Think of your time on the clock as a currency. How does this budget get spent across the lifespan of a single game? Well, in Phase 1, the opening, your goal is to spend very little time. You should be relying on knowing core principles and common setups. Then we hit Phase 2, the middle game. This is the absolute heart of the battle, and it's exactly where you want to spend the vast majority of your time currency, because this is where games are won and lost tactically. Finally, we reach Phase 3, the end game. The key here is that you absolutely must have kept enough time in your budget to be accurate. So many beautifully won middle games are tragically lost on time or thrown away due to rushed blunders in the end game.
Which brings us to a massively relatable piece of advice. Please, do not spend 5 minutes on move 3. Honestly, we have all been there. We see some unexpected, weird opening move, we panic, and suddenly we burn a huge chunk of our clock trying to calculate 20 moves deep into a brand new game. Don't do it. Stick to your opening principles and save that precious time currency for the complex middle game where you'll actually need it.
But look, what happens when things go completely off the rails and you're super low on time? Let's talk about surviving special situations. If you're in a total time scramble, say you have 10 seconds and your opponent has 15, the strategy completely changes. You need to keep your moves extremely simple. Play forcing moves like checks or obvious threats and absolutely avoid falling into complicated, deep calculations. On the other hand, if you're in an increment ending, like a 3+2 game, remember that every single move literally gives you 2 seconds back. Even with 1 second on the clock, if you move fast enough, you can survive. This is exactly where having solid, instinctual endgame technique becomes a total lifesaver.
And that brings us to our final section, the path to improvement. Which format is actually best for your specific ELO?
If you are currently sitting under 800 ELO, listen up, because here is your blueprint. The absolute best choice for you is the 15+10 format. Your second best choice is 10+5. Why? Because these time controls are hands down the best formats for actually learning the game. They give you enough thinking time to process the whole board, apply new concepts, and truly learn from your moves, instead of just reacting out of pure unfiltered panic.
Now, what if you're sitting between 800 and 1500 ELO? Your options open up quite a bit. You can definitely stick with 10+5 or 15+10, but weaving in a 30+0 format is highly recommended here. This range provides a really fantastic balance. It gives you deep thinking time to refine your strategy while still maintaining enough pace for a really practical, engaging game.
Here's a huge reality check. If you really want to improve quickly, you absolutely must avoid the trap of exclusively playing bullet chess. Look, it's incredibly common to get addicted to that fast-paced dopamine hit of a 1-minute game. And yeah, for sure, bullet will help your mechanical speed and quick tactical vision. But rapid is what actually builds deep, fundamental chess understanding. Sometimes you have to slow down to actually speed up your chess knowledge.
And that brings us to the ultimate golden rule of this whole explainer. The less time you have, the more you rely on patterns. The more time you have, the more you rely on calculation. That right there perfectly encapsulates everything we've talked about today. Time literally dictates the exact tools your brain uses to navigate the board.
So I'll leave you with this. Which time format are you going to conquer next to level up your game? Will you embrace the structured, deep learning of rapid, or are you going to go sharpen your practical instincts in blitz? The choice is entirely yours, and now you have the blueprint to use that clock to your ultimate advantage. Thanks so much for hanging out with me in this explainer. Now get out there, watch that clock, and play some fantastic chess.
Please like, subscribe and share to Chess Lovers for more such chess content.